the acting mayor for JB Max. As the program director has just making an apology that we are starting late. So we were busy and awaiting our very important guest since in the morning. I wake up around 6 o'clock because they said we will start very early. So I didn't want to be late. Thank you, Ntate Khuselo. The acting premier of the Northwest in absentia, Honorable Patrick Dumile Nonomaloi, the member of the Northwest Provincial Executive Committee, MEC, Honorable Tlhape, the executive mayor of the district of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, in absentia, Mayor Nikki Wenam, the municipalities present, ambassadors, council generals, commissioners, the Sous Shepherd from the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, Mr. Joubert, the chairperson of SIDA, incubator and board member of Minerals, Dr. Takalani, Northwest Regional Manager of the Old Mutual SMME project, Ms. Govenda, the acting CEO of Northwest Development Corporation, Mr. Kabelo Mafokwane, distinguished guests, members of the media, Bommele Bontate, good morning. Let me begin by expressing my gratitude and thanks to everyone in attendance as those who help today's possible. We are quite grateful for the opportunity to organize the Illuminating Brics Sawubona Africa 2023 Trade and Investment Conference. And also we appreciate that today, as JB Max, we are the host of the Trade and Investment Engagement, as we are the city of expertise, marks of excellence. We continue to have faith that this conference will support the cultural diversity. We continue to have faith that this conference will support the culture and economic growth of the JB Max local municipality. It should also offer a platform for networking and business opportunity with participation of organizations such as Northwest Development Corporation, which has strategic trust to drive an inclusive strategy toward local economic growth and transformation in line with provincial priorities. By promoting the Northwest province as contender in the SADC region, Africa and the world in terms of lowering investment, the Northwest Development Corporation hopes to aid the growth and transformation of the economy by implementing important initiatives and offering assistance for the growth of important economic sector in accordance with the province's established economic and industrial goals. The Northwest Development Corporation seeks to demonstrate its leadership. The Northwest Development Corporation offers a one-stop shop for investors' services, aftercare support, and investment promotion and facilitation. Amongst other things, it encourages the emergence of black industrialists who build trade, export, and investment platforms for the province. The fact that South Africa is strategically situated at the southernmost tip of Africa is a plus. It is the nation with a promising economy to invest in, as well as world-class accessibility and infrastructure. The Northwest, on the other hand, appeals to invest from both national and continental viewpoint due to its geographical orientation in relation to the rest of country and African market. The province is perfectly situated to assess the 14 nations that makes up SADC, with Botswana being only a short distance away. As one of the entrances to the Southern African Development Community, South Africa's Northwest is perfectly situated. The N4 highway, which runs through the province and links the ports of Maputo, Mozambique, Walvis Bay. Namibia provides benefits to the region. The Northwest plays a pivotal role in delivering of energy, transport, communication to agriculture, commercial initiatives, and offers readily accessible expertise and distribution channels essential for those endeavors. South Africa has a crucial role to play in BRICS formation to advance our foreign policy international and achieve our domestic policy goals. As we are aware that it has taken over the rotating chairpersonship of the BRICS formation from the People's Republic of China from 1 January to December 2023. Within the ranks of the BRICS nation, South Africa is recognized as a dedicated and committed player on the international and regional stage. The recovery of economies, coordination and macroeconomy policies, bettering global economic governance, boosting international trade and investment, addressing income and inequality, attaining sustainable development among the key themes to expect during our term as BRICS chair. According to the economy or acronym BRICS, the forum chair is alternated annually among the members. During the chairpersonship, South Africa aims to advance the export and investment interests through activities aimed at promoting trade amongst the BRICS members and showcase South Africa capabilities and available investment opportunities. South Africa chairpersonship is expected to contribute to economic growth, job creation, increased level of investment in the economy, improve industrialization of the economy, and increase share of manufacturing global exports. BRICS 2023 Sawubona Africa Trade and Investment Conference serves as a seminal milestone for BRICS cooperation, representing more than a decade at the highest diplomatic level. BRICS was established as a forum of like-minded progressive emerging market and developing countries. It is for this reason that they were brought together by their commitment to need to restructure the global political, economic, and financial architecture, being more equitable, balanced, and resting on important pillars of multilateralism and international law, a commitment to unlock opportunity for investment, foster cultural exchange, and promote Africa unity. As the acting mayor of JB Max, in absentia Kabaka, I think you should march for the opportunity you awarded me with trust and the responsibility you bestowed on my shoulder. As an acting executive mayor, I would like to welcome everyone within the jurisdiction of JB Max, within the region of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, in the absence of the executive mayor, Honorable Nikki Wenam, in absence of the acting premier. We are saying, all of you, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to the city of expertise, to the marks of excellence. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we give Ndate Muller another round of applause? Thank you for welcoming us. So before we invite the MEC, I would like us to all rise and sing the national anthem, which will also be followed by the AU anthem. Okay. Please don't expect me to sing, otherwise the conference will be over. Richard? Okay. Selector, you going to help us at the back? Okay.
Israel
Thank you. May all be seated. I just want to take this moment as well to acknowledge all the ambassadors present. Thank you for making time to come and spend this prestigious occasion with us. We take it very seriously. Truly appreciate you. May we please give our ambassadors a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now going to invite on stage the Honorable MEC Tlapi to come and address us as delegated by the Acting Premier, Dr. Malloy. Can we give our MEC a round of applause? All right, keep it going. Let's keep it going until she gets on stage.
Thank you very much, Program Director, and good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Are you getting cold? Okay. You must get a cup of tea if you feel like you're getting cold. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. The Acting Executive Mayor, thank you for welcoming us to your town. The members of the Diplomatic Corps, leaders of different business entities that are here today with us, leaders of faith-based organizations, Makosi arona a tlotlegang ga le teng mo gareng ga rona gonne re province ya Makosi re a leboga ga le teng mo gareng ga rona. Ke dumedise Ntate Tolo from the Office of the Premier yo ikarabelang ka fo yona kgang e ntseng ke bua ka yona ya Makosi. Re Tolo re a leboga gore o bona le rona mo letsatsi la kajeko. Meya ke setse ke go lebogile go re amogela. Let me also welcome So Shepherd, he be Jobet from the Department of International Relations. Let me also welcome Ambassador Dikam Mopelwa. Let me also welcome Dr. Takalani Mazivandlela. Can you pronounce this? Mazivandlela, the chairperson of SIDA. Let me also welcome Ms. Preleni Gavenda and Tate Kabelo Mafokane, the acting CEO of NWDC, and Tate Sadike, the manager of the SCZ, which is situated in Bojanala in Mukwase, and Tate Kopano Kunupi, the chairperson of the NWDC. Thank you very much for also being with us today here. Let me be safe and say all protocol observed, so that but I think it is important, Program Director, to also mention amongst us where there are ambassadors that are with us today. We do have Ambassador, I've already indicated, B. Jobert. We also have Consul General Lesotho. As I do that, can you please clap their hands for them because they traveled far to be with us today. I take it that you were also doing that for So Shepherd, HB Jobert, or you can do that again for him. Let me also welcome the consulate from Zimbabwe. The South Korea, Mr. Huang, and the Ambassador Ntate Mopelwa. Program Director, you will indicate as and when there are others who are with us, but for now, these are the ones that they've indicated that they are amongst ourselves. Program Director, as the MEC of Economic Development, Environment, Conservation and Tourism, standing on behalf of the Acting Premier, Honorable Nono Malloy, I'm honored and privileged to be addressing this important event, which is held under the theme, Accelerating Africa's Continental Free Trade for a Better Africa and a Better World. The African Continental Free Trade Area is one of the flagship projects of the Agenda 2063. By bringing 55 countries of the African Union and 8 regional economic blocs, this initiative seeks to create a single continental market with a population of 1.3 billion people and combined GDP, which is estimated as US 3.4 trillion. A part of its mandate is to eliminate trade barriers and boost intra-Africa trade. This will help our beloved continent address a number of socio-economic challenges affecting our developmental trajectory. Program Director, our country is going to host a Brics Summit during the month of August, and this important event is aimed at setting the tone and galvanizing all of us to rally behind the summit. This summit comes at a time where the world is going through a very difficult period due to the war between Ukraine and Russia, and I think we all know and understand. Russia is our country's political and trading partner through BRICS. Moreover, we share a long-standing relationship with Russia dating to the years of the liberation struggle. Program Director, our President, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, has been consistent with our non-aligned foreign policy position in relation to the developments between Ukraine and Russia. Our non-aligned position dates as far back as 1955, when leaders of the developing world met at Bandung in Indonesia. The core principle of the mutual respect for the sovereignty and the non-aggression and the non-principle have come to define our democratic trajectory and foreign policy position. Program Director, we also like to applaud our President for leading the African Peace Mission to Ukraine and Russia to try and find a lasting solution to the ongoing conflict. We live in a global community, and these conflicts, one way or the other, have a negative bearing on the economies of the developing world, and this has an adverse impact on the lives of our poor and the marginalized. Program Director, the BRICS nations are ranked among the world's fastest growing emerging market economies, and this is largely attributed to the favorable demographics and abundant natural resources. The collective strength of the BRICS economies is of ever-increasing importance to the global political economy. Data on these countries displays the relevance of the group of several dimensions. Together, these countries occupy about 28% of the planet's land. This is in addition to being home to 41% of the world population and about 46% of its workforce. Although relatively new, the BRICS have established themselves on the global stage and have displayed that they can achieve increasingly broader consensus on intra-BRICS cooperation, as well as an pursuit for a more equitable and fair international financial system and political economy. Bagaetso, I take this opportunity to welcome you all in the Northwest Province. Our province is endowed with mineral resources and form part and parcel of the Platinum Belt, which accounts for 70% of the total reserves in the world. Tourism is one of the largest economic drivers in the province, with the majestic tourist sites such as your Sun City, which you all know, the Pilanesberg National Park, the Madikwe Game Reserve, the Blue Moth Dam, as well as Hardebeespoort Dam, amongst others. Agriculture is also one of the leading industries in the Northwest Province, with Nakamudiri Mulema district forming part of the country's largest maize producers, while Dr. Rutsukhumutsi Mumpati district is leading the pack in terms of the red meat production in the province. Program Director, the government of the Northwest Province is well aware that for the most part of countries and regions which are today economically prosperous have largely done so through the promotion and support of the industrial development. Accordingly, we have concluded the planning stage of the Bojanala Special Economic Zone in Mokwase, Moses Kotane local municipality. The Bojanala SCZ is our tool to transform Bojanala region into an internationally competitive manufacturing center. We will thus implement a range of initiatives to support value addition to our PGMs, agriculture, and other resources. This special economic zone will not just attract foreign and domestic direct investment, but it will also create over 13,000 direct jobs and over 20,000 indirect jobs in the short to medium term. We are grateful to the many investors who have expressed interest and commitment to invest in the SCZ. Program Director, I will therefore like to encourage all business entities that are gathered here to consider our province as a viable investment destination. We've got a wonderful climate that is conducive for both tourism and agricultural production. Our mineral resources have a lifespan of over 200 years. We have initiated stakeholder engagement with different industry leaders, and we have sound working relationship with them to date. We urge you to come and invest in our province and enjoy the warmth and humanity that defines our beloved province. I guarantee you nothing but our undivided support and attention. Bokoni Bophirima ke province e ratang batho mme ra le kgwetla botlhe ba ileng gore ba batla go tla go investa mo provinceng ya rona go tla ka makatla namane re tle re berekisane mmogo. Program Director, thank you very much. You are most welcome to our province. Ke a leboga.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks, MEC. Let's give you another round of applause. Thank you for reminding us of how wonderful our province is. It's rich with almost everything, so we got it all. So as our president was saying the other day, we are not beggars. Yeah, let's do trade and investment. It was so nice when the president was talking. I watched it again this morning. Hey, my friends, it was beautiful. Thank you so much, Methapi. We really are not taking it lightly when we say we are a province of real investment. You will hear as the discussions unfold, even where we are on this N12 route, the opportunities that are around us. So we really appreciate that reminder, MEC. Another round of applause. Okay, so we will then move to the next presentation that will be done by Soshapa Jobet from the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. Can we warmly welcome him on stage as well?
Maybe let me just adjust this for the high-level segment. Thank you so much, Program Director. Allow me to also add my acknowledgement for the ambassadors, high commissioners, consul generals, and excellencies representing them here today. Also our MEC Mape, who is representing the acting premier of this province, this beautiful, rich province, acting Premier Malloy, Councillor Mudwa, the acting mayor, our host for today. Thank you, sir, for your hospitality. All MECs here present, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to use this opportunity to thank you for hosting the Brics Roadshow here today. I'm accompanied by the A-team from the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. So my colleagues in the room, especially those from public diplomacy, I would like to acknowledge the support they've given to our team and also to our principals to make the Brics chairing Brics this year in 2023 a visible occasion. Perhaps just to start off why we are here today is because when Cabinet approved the themes and priorities and deliverables for Brics in 2023, it also instructed that Brics should be taken to all corners of South Africa in an effort to bring the Brics to our people. So we are standing here and we are engaging the province and this specific town because we do believe that Brics bring benefits to all South Africans on all levels. Maybe just to start off with some background. So Brics is an informal grouping, and as you know, it is a grouping of leading emerging and developing markets. South Africa is in Brics, so is Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And that formation, Brics, now has 30% of the world's territory, about 20% of the world's international or global trade, and about 27%, almost a third of the GDP in the world. The economic size of Brics is now bigger than the G7 as a bloc. So I think it is important to note that South Africa is a full member of a very significant global formation of the Global South. Of course, we joined in 2010 and we went to the first Brics Summit in 2011. And as you also know, the chairship of Brics rotates. This year we have it, and we followed up after China hosted it last year. This is the third time since we joined that we will be hosting Brics. In 2013 and in 2018 we hosted, and now in 2023 we are again hosting Brics. So our people in South Africa, just like government, play a very important and crucial role in the hosting of Brics. This is a significant institution, it's significant formation, as I said, of the Global South, and it is something we are committed to not only on government level, but also on all the other levels of our society. Maybe it's important to note that South Africa's overall trade with Brics partners has increased by a growth of 10% over the last more or less 4 years. South Africa's trade with Brics reached 830 billion rands in last year, and it is almost double from the trade 4 years ago in 2017-18. Brics now accounts for 21% of South Africa's global trade. Over 14% of South Africa's exports are to Brics countries. Around 30% of our imports come from Brics countries, and there was an unusual spike because it used to oscillate around 10% previously. This does align with a 25% increase of total global imports from 2021 to 2022, while South Africa exports to the rest of the world increased only by 4.6%. So this is something we always say. We know that Brics is not at the moment perhaps our most important trading partners, but going forward, the potential, the way we grow in terms of our engagements with Brics, that is very promising, and that is why South Africa wants to be in Brics and wants to be part of this global formation. So commercial relationship with BRICS is growing currently at the rate of about 25% year on year. South Africa continues to face a trade deficit with its bilateral trade and overall trade with BRICS countries. There is therefore a need, and that is why we're here today, and I think it was very, very well articulated by the speakers before me, that there's a need for trade diversification as we continue to export more primary goods, and we need to move away from those minerals to value addition. As I said, that was very, very clearly spelled out also by the leadership who spoke before me. Of course, the BRICS revised strategy for BRICS economic partnership provides a basis for enhancing intra-BRICS economic interaction and cooperation. The BRICS Business Council and the BRICS Women's Business Alliance bring together very important players in the commercial network of BRICS. The BRICS Business Forum meets during the BRICS Summit, and of course then that is where we focus on the main benefits we see coming from BRICS, and those are economies of scale related to trade and also to investment. One of the main institutional achievements of BRICS is the new development bank. This bank was established in 2015, and it plays this very significant catalytic role in providing financial support for infrastructure and sustainable development. In South Africa, we also benefit from the new development bank and those loans that they provide, to the tune of about $5.4 billion at the moment. Those loans provide very much support in many of our infrastructure projects in terms of service delivery improvement, and then also in terms of our recovery post the pandemic. So the bank is a key role player in South Africa, and it affects our lives on a daily basis. In 2021, the bank started expanding. So at the moment, Bangladesh, Uruguay, UAE, and Egypt are new members of the BRICS New Development Bank. BRICS cooperation provides further benefits for South Africa through science, technology, and innovation, energy, health, education cooperation, as well as BRICS financing for infrastructure development, capacity building, research, education, skilling, trade, investments, and tourism opportunities. So the way we interact with BRICS is therefore very much aligned to our domestic priorities. As you know, everything we try to achieve domestically is expanded to the international policies or priorities that we have in terms of our foreign policy priorities. South Africa aims to build stronger working relationships and synergies between civil society and academics in a bid to make BRICS more inclusive, including through the BRICS Civil Forum and the BRICS Academic Forum. So all these institutions of BRICS meet this year, and they will continue to meet until the end of the year when we stop chairing BRICS. In total, we are looking at about 200 meetings in 2023 that are hosted across all the levels of our engagement, whether it's a working group up to a ministerial, or as we know, the summit engagement of the leaders of BRICS. The councils, in terms of the architecture of BRICS, of course, the councils include the BRICS Business Council, the BRICS Women's Business Alliance, as I've mentioned, the BRICS Think Tank Council, and the BRICS Interbank Cooperation Mechanisms. That is the architecture of BRICS. Just briefly, in terms of this year, Cabinet approved on the 31st of August the theme of South Africa's chairship. So on the 31st of August last year, the theme of BRICS and Africa, Partnership for Mutually Accelerated Growth, Sustainable Development and Inclusive Multilateralism was approved with 5 priorities. Those priorities are the developing a partnership towards an equitable, just transition, the transforming education and skills development for the future, unlocking opportunities through the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which MEC so eloquently highlighted, strengthening post-pandemic socio-economic recovery, and the attainment of the 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development. And then, of course, the 5th priority is strengthening BRICS, strengthening multilateralism, including working towards real reform of the global governance institution and strengthening the meaningful participation of women in peacekeeping. So BRICS is really about creating a world system that is truly inclusive of all the countries in the world, especially the voice of the global south. Again, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, these 5 priorities reflect in a way also what we want to achieve domestically in South Africa. So there's never in our international engagements, we never lose sight of what we want to achieve in South Africa for our own people. Then I think very briefly, I will just reflect on one issue that is quite prominent nowadays, and that is the issue of expansion. BRICS is aiming to expand. Of course, this process is a fully inclusive consultative process based on consensus. So there's a lot of interest, and you must have seen that there are close to 20 countries expressing an interest in joining BRICS. This, for us, is an indication that BRICS has really lived up to its original values of ensuring a voice for the global south. And we've seen that the multilateral system as we know it, the UN structures, the Bretton Woods financial institutions, have not been changing enough to accommodate this reality in today's world. So whilst there is some effort to push to ensure that there is a reformed and strengthened multilateral system in the world, BRICS wants to contribute to that, and we want to ensure that the new that the world order that is emerging in this very challenging geopolitical times is one that is truly inclusive of everyone in the world systems. Very briefly, just on expansion, it is an ongoing debate. We are looking at all the elements of expansion, what would be the criteria, what would be the standards, what would be the guiding principles, and what would be that procedure. South Africa, in this year that we are chairing, is driving that process, and that process is based on inclusive and complete consensus with all the other BRICS member states. So we will see what comes out of this, but the fact that there is so much interest in the world to join BRICS is a very encouraging sign, and South Africa sees it as an opportunity to gain further momentum in terms of contributing to the work that is done in formations like BRICS in the global south. I will just very briefly then conclude conclude to say this roadshow is like many other events, a run-up as we approach the summit. That South Africa, that our president as host of the summit will be hosting in Johannesburg at the Sandton Convention Centre from 22 to 24 August this year. This first day of the summit is the first element of summit, which is the business forum, the Brics Business Forum. That goes into a very small retreat, and after the retreat we have on the 23rd the plenary sessions of Brics Summit, going into a banquet and of course a cultural event. And then very importantly on the 24th, our president as host of Summit has invited all the African countries to join him in a dialogue. So that is the outreach and the BRICS Plus events at summit level. Of course, South Africa, one of the legacies we have in BRICS is that in 2013, when we hosted for the first time, we made it very clear that we are not alone in BRICS. We are representing the region and the continent. So we had the first outreach in 2013, inviting key African countries, normally those chairing the regional economic communities. So President will do this again this year, and he will also invite other countries from the Global South in the BRICS Plus format. We therefore see on the 24th, the last day of summit, the BRICS dialogues taking place, and that is a significant engagement where President will be accompanied by more than 60 heads of state and government in that event. So that's the run-up to summit, of which I said, as I mentioned, this roadshow today here in this town is a very important element of reaching summit. And of course, after summit, we will continue to engage up till the 31st of December. Maybe on that note, allow me to conclude, to thank you for your attendance, thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to speak here today. And I'm sure that the outcomes of today's engagement will also inform not only government but our leadership as we go into the summit and the rest of our chairship in 2023. I thank you very much.
Yo, that says it all, ne? In my next lifetime, I'll borrow some of your height. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's give Soshap another round of applause. Thank you for giving us context, just to understand where everything comes in. For me, two things that are critical. This emphasis on value add, because we can't keep exporting like we used to before, so, and I'm also looking forward to the presentation on mineral beneficiation, because we are rich in minerals, but we take everything out raw as it is. It comes back to us at exorbitant cost. That's one. And also that emphasis on the priorities, particularly skills development. Because whilst we want to beneficiate, but the question is, do we have the skill set that will help us to do exactly that? So that for me is important from your presentation. So let's say siyabulela, siyabonga. Thank you so much, Soshepa. So ladies and gents, the next item we will skip for now because it is going to be done online, but we'll do that after lunch. So we will move to the presentation by Ambassador Dikgang Moopelwa, who is going to give us a session on economic diplomacy and multilateralism. Thank you so much. Let's give him a round of applause. Can somebody help setting all this thing?
Well, no, thank you very much. It's okay. Thank you very much, Program Director. The MEC, thank you very much for your patience and being with us and welcoming us, the Mayor. Now, my job is very simple. My colleagues invited us to say, let's talk to the concept called economic diplomacy and multilateralism. Now, before I do that, let me acknowledge the established protocol. But for the province, I think when we say established protocol, and I'm just talking because I'm a diplomat, I can't use the words that have been used. There's nothing called all protocol observed. It's nothing like that. So let's acknowledge the established protocol, as I'm told. There are honorable members from the Provincial Executive Committee present, led by MEC Tlhapi, the district leadership, the local councils, the Royal Highnesses present, the diplomatic corps led by ambassadors and high commissioners and consul generals, senior and all government officials here present, business leaders in your respective capacities and capabilities, fellow Africans, guests, good morning, Dumelang, Sawubona, Africa. My mind is to deal with a concept called economic diplomacy and multilateralism, literally taking what Ambassador Ben was explaining to you, what they are doing and how they end up having Brics in the South Africa being a participant to Brics. So let's deal with two understanding. The South African foreign policy is anchored on four basic tenets. That's what we will call public diplomacy. There are colleagues who deals with that particular part. There are colleagues that deals with security, defense security related matters. There are those that deals with cultural diplomacy, and there are those that is anchored on the economic diplomacy. So for today, we will touch on the two interlinked cultural diplomacy and economic diplomacy, and leave the defense and all others to the experts. So, what is this economic diplomacy and multilateralism? The institution that you see as Brics forms what we now refer to as a multilateral institution. Is a body recognized by states, by government of those 5 countries that you see there. Ambassador Ben just said to us that they are considering expansion, and they are also considering invitations, people who want to participate and so forth. The uniqueness of Brics in this instance, they have also included or invited those from the private sector as participants. Hence, Ambassador has spoken about the Business Council, meaning through the Brics Business Council, business has a voice to the purview that was predominated by government. So what was a government focus, direction, only responsibility, they have now included as governments the role, the participation of a private sector. It's one of the crucial aspects that deals with the issue of BRICS. And therefore, for a multilateral institution like BRICS, where countries sit together having their own bilateral agreement. So, when we say multilateral, we refer to more than 3 countries coming together and agreeing on set of goals and objectives, programs, and so on and so forth, so that they can agree to say they are following that. But if it is 2 countries, between ourselves, Zimbabwe, between ourselves, Botswana, that will be a bilateral agreement. What we have between ourselves and Lesotho is bilateral agreement. Meaning there are certain things that ourselves we agree on, but when it becomes multilateral, we begin to look beyond our own individual countries. We now begin to take a broader global position. So you will find the word multilateralism is always now predominated by a word called globalism or global village, looking at the world as a global village. Therefore, within that space of multilateralism or multilateral relationship, we are focusing on economic diplomacy. So, what is our understanding of economic diplomacy? My bosses who called me here, who directed me that I come here, they said, we expect you to reduce this out of your United Nations, your DERCO, and place it in Tlokwe, place it in Northwest so that we can relate to the decision. How does this decision of BRICS affect us, impact on us? What is our contribution? What is our participation? How best we can take an advantage about BRICS? Now, economic diplomacy is based on few basic tenets. There's certain foundation, meaning we ought to have economic interest. All what we are talking in economic diplomacy, we ought to have economic interest. We are aware that as the province, there is a specific portion. I'm going to come back to that. But in this case, I want to start first at the state level, at the country level, at the government level. And in this instance, we are represented by our national government. So the national government, as the custodian of our statehood, they are the one that leads that. Now, so how do we relate? We relate through diplomatic channels. We are having a number of ambassadors, commissioners, consul generals present here, representing their countries. That is a diplomatic channel that we are using. Because it's easy, it is a recognized establishment, it's a recognized agreement, we work with it at that level. But this also provides an opportunity to negotiate, to bargain, to say, what is that Zimbabwe can provide, and what is that South Africa can provide? What mode of payment we are going to agree upon? I want to quote President Ruto of Kenya. He said some few weeks ago, Kenya and Somalia are trading. They want to sell each other a product. The mode of the transaction is $1. He asked why. Why do we place on ourselves a mode of trade? South Africa is slightly better with what we call the SADC countries and with what we call a SACU protocol, where there is a Southern African Customs Union which enables us to utilize, for now, to utilize the rand as a common denominator that we can trade. So if I go to Lesotho, I can buy and purchase everything I want in rand. So if a Lesotho national is in South Africa, wants to do a transaction with Maluti, is allowed. But the common denominator that we are utilizing is a rand to do transactions as a SACU. And therefore, that is also accepted within the SADC region of the 14-member state. Now, let's contextualize this. What does this mean to Northwest? That your businesses in Northwest has now potential to trade a market of over 340 million people. That's your market. The MEC mentioned 1.2 million or 3 million people population of Northwest. You as yourself as taking the economic interest, your market, with this agreement moves from 2 million to now 340. So that's the opportunity that you are looking at. But also this assists the private and public cooperation, where there are certain things that government ought to do, there are certain things that private sector can do, there are areas of cooperation that it is important. This platform enables the relationship between government and private sector to work very closely and cut certain red tapes. The last two basic tenets deals with strategic alliance. I have seen, I'm sure, and I'll talk to SACU because for now there are certain things that we can do with SACU, but I'm going to juxtapose our relationship as SACU with Korea, and South Korea to be specific. There are certain things that we can do, and the colleague was mentioning skills development. There are certain things that we can do in the continent in terms of beneficiation, or in the region in terms of beneficiation, the minerals that we have. But there are machines that have been developed by others which can enable us to work smarter, faster, produce number of products, number of resources in a complete different manner for it to be globally competitive. Remember, even if you have access to this market of 340 million people and above, or 14 countries in the SADC, just SADC alone, you are competing with others who want to sell similar products. So the issue of symbiotic relations and strategic relations between the province, between the countries is very important. Now when we look at what informs economic interest and what informs national interest, so that we know that we are meeting here, we are Brics, but we have a vested interest. All of us and the province, I take the province wants to know what role they will play. It's very rare that we start talking about economic intelligence. It's very rare. We talk about this as a concept behind the scene, behind the curtain. You ought to understand the intelligence, the economic intelligence, who are your competitors, who provides what products, how much are those, the cost to produce that particular product, how much is it in those particular countries that you are competing with yourself. So you ought to get that information. Now, private sector, it is now your responsibility to put government and the MEC department to task for them to provide you information that you want in terms of the province. But as a country, Department of Trade and Industry and Competition ought to provide that. Department of DERCO ought to provide that. Just as I move to the next area, I know the colleagues, they say DERCO. I am not with DERCO. I'm retired after many years being in government. I've decided to retire 10 years ago. I've done my part, but the title of ambassador stays with you for eternity because the president sometimes he can call on you. You don't have your right, so they give you so that they can call on you. So don't worry when they say Ambassador Mopelwa. I've done my part. Now, what posture can Northwest take in this economic posture can Northwest take in this process? You should know that my bosses for now is province of Northwest. Ben's bosses is national, so he will talk national. I'll talk for the province. What posture economic posture can Northwest take? The colleague said we have minerals, so let me correct it. Northwest has platinum. You see, And I'm going to take this platinum and contextualize it slightly different. In the industry called the automotive industry, there's something called converters, what they call catalytic converters. The movement of making sure that we reduce the emissions in automotive, the vehicles that we have, as passenger vehicles, trucks, buses, trains, and whatever around that. But for now, I'll talk about automotive, leave the rail out. The automotive industry in the world ought to convert the old system, as we talk about catalytic converters, and platinum is critical at that level. So when we say beneficiation in the province, we say catalytic converters. We ought to say we have a resource material central to the catalytic converters. So what is that as a province we are doing to take advantage of that particular opportunity? And this is one area where the economic intelligence will tell you which other countries are producing catalytic converters who have platinum. Now, the African continent is the #1 producer and resource holder of platinum, #1. Number 2, 3, 4, they are further down there in terms of the actual resources that we have. So Northwest has an opportunity to play. Now let's take Northwest. Let's take your platinum companies that are based in Northwest. They are within the top 4 in the world. So it's not that the platinum of Northwest is bad or whatever around that. When we say it's top 4, and for a number of years we have been top 2. And we commanded this space as South Africa as #1. Now, because we talk about as a continent and we talk about as a region, the Southern African Development Community, SADC, is the #1 producer of platinum and holder of that resource in the world. Now, you have an opportunity to now say, we want our space on the table as Northwest. You ought to therefore champion where you hold a strong position, meaning you have produced, you have taken that mineral out, you have put on the top, you have done beneficiation so that you can sell as that process, so that you can put a value. And therefore, what you now need to do is to say, how do we benefit this one and take it to the industry? That's what we call beneficiation. So you have that. I'm not going to talk about copper, nickel, iron ore and whatever. They are in abundance in your province. But I'm saying the one of the best resource in the world currently, tradable, is platinum. You have it as a province. You have expertise to take it out and whatever around that. But very strange enough, Northwest is not fighting to take all old cars, recycle all those cars so that you can recover the minerals that are in those particular cars. So I know the colleagues from Northwest Development Corporation are coming to speak with yourself. Take the CEO to task. He must give you the information. How many cars are in South Africa? How many cars are supposed to be on a scrapyard? How many cars can be converted so that you can remine? You can recover those minerals that sit in those particular vehicles. I'm not going to talk about trade promotion and investment promotion because the colleague is going to talk about that. But I'm going to talk about infrastructure development. Many years ago, we approved a corridor called the Trans-Kalahari Corridor. That moves out of Lesotho and out of Mozambique and end in Namibia. Now, the body of that road stays in South Africa and it exits South Africa through Northwest. If you can ask yourself as Northwest to say, this critical corridor, how have we benefited in terms of this area? And the infrastructure associated with that will be road and rail. How have we benefited as the province in this important corridor? Why that important corridor? It is because the same corridor is the one that takes your mineral out of your province. And it's the same corridor that brings whatever it is you are importing back into the province through the same corridor. Now, it utilizes your infrastructure. Brics is not going to be happy with me, I'm going to say this. At one point, he was the MEC in this province and critical for 2 portfolios. Your roads, go and look at your roads currently in the Northwest. Go and look at your roads, critical roads. It is the way it is, or those roads are the way they are, precisely because of taking minerals in and out of your province. It's not about the opposite. So when you say resources, look at your roads. When you say resources, look at your rail arrangement. So it is important that you look around that. The last point in this field of the basic tenets of economic diplomacy is skills. During Brics' time, they did a study as a province to see in terms of the skills, in terms of governance. I'm going to add Brics from that skill mining expertise. Of course, Northwest was the largest importer of labor skills from other provinces, other countries. But Northwest at one stage, when they did a study just before 2010, Nebo Mumulewa was still alive, may her soul rest in peace. At that stage, they discovered that Northwest has contributed skills leaving the province, government leaving the province, to other provinces, other government structures and whatever outside the province. In 2010, just before 2010, it was over 300,000. So that skills leave. Now it talks to the point that the province already can export the skills, meaning you can develop the skills locally. But I'm just talking about governance, or I'm talking about public administration. You might want to use the same logic as a province. You might want to look, there are one major university in the province, but there are a number of TVETs. You might want to say, can't as a province have a deliberate program of reskilling our people so that we can deal with the issue of the skills? Because when you take out 300,000 people out, you must remember there's a remittance to the province. Those people come back to the province now as a holder of capital and whatever around that. So it's important to look at this issue of skill. We say human capital. We need to start now looking at the aspect of human capital and deal with the process. Northwest is fortunate on the basic tenets that you have Botswana. Okay, you're no longer relating to Namibia, but we have Botswana at the top as the head of SADC. So there is opportunity of expanding the regional cooperation because of their positioning. But if you look at the region, as I said, there are 14 countries. You are in position, you are better placed as a province to deal with the relationship across on the north side. Now, what is that how do we leverage platinum? How do we leverage platinum? You have a university. It will be very interesting that the province says to us we are a leading province in terms of research and development when it comes to platinum beneficiations and whatever around that. We ought to say to our academics Ben did indicate that there's a forum in Brics of academia and whatever around that. But the province has a role to play to say that we ought to be one of the leading in terms of research and development on platinum. I've spoken about value-add processing. Now, I'm going to tweak that slightly different. There was a concept of platinum supplier park that the province developed many months ago. Business plan, size, everything else costed, looking at the business viability and whatever around that. Platinum supplier park, meaning how do we support the industries and the mining houses as this particular sector? But at that time, there was something that was also emerging within the energy space, research and development. It was talking about the conversion of platinum into electricity in terms of platinum cells and whatever around that. So the province has some business plan. Somewhere it needs to be dusted, brought back so that it takes an advantage of this. So there's no reason that the province can't present a solid proposal to the Brics Summit that is coming. And I'm saying so because Brics is here. The Premier's office ought to get that particular business plan. It was complete. We play it and make sure that that business plan, it is there. It is there. The province can go to the summit and make a presentation in terms of this area. But because we say we are platinum, we need to look at a concept called market diversification. Market diversification, we ought to get experts from the private sector who deals with the supply chain, which provide the complete value chain and begin to say, how do we develop to support these particular industries and areas that we are looking at? It will be important that the issue of the platinum supply park comes back. Now, to conclude, what are the essentials of economic diplomacy? What are the essentials? If you say we now want to use this concept of economic diplomacy as countries, as our brothers and sisters from the continent and all those expanded members of BRICS, is goal alignment. Now, Ben has gone into details with that information. That as BRICS member states, we are aligned. As BRICS partners, we are aligned in terms of what is that we want to achieve. Because unless we have goal alignment, economic diplomacy also means, is one of those concepts. Continuous diplomatic engagement. I'm pleased by the province, by the participation of the colleague from diplomatic community, and I would urge the Premier's office, the MEC's office, to have a constant engagement with countries' representatives, those from SADC, those from the continent, those from the East Asian countries. It's important that we continue this issue of engagement so that we understand. We have to understand the issue of trade and investment, promotions and opportunities. Now, why as an investor would I come here and put my money into the Northwest? Is that there's very simple thing that you must understand about money. Money is a coward. It's very afraid. If there's no stability, whatever, I will never put my money. So money will just go through the window quickly. So we need to look at, and I'm sure the colleague of Trade and Industry or Northwest Development Corporation will deal with this particular aspect of trade and investment promotion into the province. But I'm saying again, the role that the Premier's office, the MEC's office ought to play is the advocacy of BRICS. Now, Ben, they are going to leave you. He has to cover the whole country. And by the way, he knows that the African countries are complaining that this is not about South Africa. They need to go and brief other capitals in the region. So Ben is leaving. So the MEC's office, the Mayor's office, the Premier's office must deal with this issue of advocacy. Find your space as a province. What is that you are going to supply? What role you are going to supply as a niche market? Well, the numbers, Ben, you know, they changes. No, indeed, BRICS, well, we will say academically is not yet proven. But the numbers tells us BRICS is now the leading economic bloc in the world, global economic bloc in the world. But you must remember, the instruments that we are using to measure this are still controlled by the West, the Bretton Woods institution, IMF, and whatever around that type of situation. You must respect that. You're not going to collapse that process. But however, BRICS is breathing very heavily on those institutions. I thought Ben was going to say it. There are a number of G7 countries knocking on your door of BRICS to say, Eman, you said it's open, can we sit on a dinner table, let's talk. So it's important that the province also plays their role in terms of what advocacy they ought to play. Brazil, the province has one of the best universities. It's important that you work with academic institutions to produce intelligence, economic intelligence analysis of the role that the province can play. Because you can't have an academic institution that is not solving your problems. So this university in the Northwest, one of the best in the country, ought to participate, and I'm saying, my colleague did say that there is an academic space within BRICS where the academia also must now provide a solution in whatever. And so you can't say as Northwest Province, we cannot produce an academic economic intelligence and analysis as a province of what are the benefits that is brought. Go to Northwest University, they have a relationship with the provincial government, produce that particular process so that business, you don't have to go and pay to get that information. Well, we who are into research and development will make you pay. But you don't have to pay, go to the province, go to the university, let them have another round of a BRICS preparation, but focusing on the role of economic intelligence. And I want to demystify the word intelligence. So I don't think it's about spooks who says these things. Economic intelligence is a business of what happens in the boardrooms. Finally, we ought to also show that there's some sustainability, and I hope the colleague from Northwest Development Corporation, I don't want to change his presentation. I hope they are going to present few sustainable projects that are taking place in the province. As I said, money is a coward. Money gets afraid. Where I can't see sustainability, I will not invest. Where I don't see the support of institutional support of that sustainability. So it is important that the province, through the MEC's office, ought to say to business, ought to say to private sector, ought to say to academic institution, let's come back together again. Let's now see what sustainable project that we can present out there. If I speak about the province, and you ask me, what is sustainable in the province? There is some semblance of that, but the platinum sector is sustainable in the province. They continue to invest in that sector because it's sustainable in the province. I can say, I have looked at, when I was asked to come here, I looked at the MEC, the province statement of sustainable projects that we as a province can say, invest in the Northwest Province because we have sustainable initiative, we have sustainable province opportunities. We are failing as a province, as a leadership to say, we as this province, we are one of the provinces that are leading in the world in terms of business of platinum, and therefore we are sustainable as a province. Thank you very much.
Right, I whispered to the ambassador, I need to know his fees, so maybe the MEC will pay for me on this one. Wow, what a lecture, would you agree? Yeah, like, yo, serious, eh? It was really, really powerful, very inspiring, thought-provoking, challenging us to contextualize what the president meant. When the president said, "We are not beggars," here's context. This is what he meant. Because basically what the ambassador is telling us is that the world actually cannot exist without us, or cannot move. Ne? The world cannot move without us. Because we have what the world needs as a country, as a province, as a region. So we thank you very much, Ambassador, for really putting it into context for us to understand what it all means, and also to posing a challenge on not only government but to us as well as business, to say, what are we going to do about it? Because we can know about it and do nothing about it. So what you're going to do, that becomes very important. So let's give him a nice round of applause, please. All right. So as in the beginning, I did say that I'm a co-driver of this program. And I am itching to introduce a colleague of mine who's going to help me to steer the ship as well. Her name is Sibongile Shongwe. Can we give her a round of applause as she comes on stage?
Thank you. Good day, everyone. I'm honored to be serving you today. I'd like to greet all delegates and dignitaries in our midst today. As you can see, when tall people come on stage, you have to adjust mics and make sure that everything is proper and is in place. So in Africa, we say every door has its key. We also say that the future belongs to those that plan for it. So as a province and as South Africa, we've been planning for beneficiation, for ensuring that we change the realms of playing within the space of industrialization and ensuring that there's local beneficiation. Amongst the things that we've done, the SEZs, which is the Special Economic Zones. Allow me to introduce the next speaker that's going to give us a feedback or an update on the Northwest Province SEZ, Mr. Dave Sadike. Thank you. Please give him a round of applause as he's coming through.
Thank you very much. Acting Executive Mayor of the municipality, the Executive Authority for DDECT, who is representing our EXCO, visitors to the province, from the Diplomatic Corps, business owners, ladies and gentlemen, good day. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present to you the Bojanala Special Economic Zone. Unfortunately, I'm unable to project, but I'll talk to the issues that we are dealing with and present the project to you. And fortunately, I'll answer some of the questions that the previous speaker talked about with regard to the extent to which we have gone to tap into the opportunities brought about by the fact that we are in a PGM environment. So in my presentation, number one, I'll talk about the introduction of the project itself. Number two, I'll talk to the sectors that we want to develop and promote within the SEZ. And then number 3, I'll talk to the current investment opportunities linked to the sectors that we are trying to implement and do in the SEZ. And number 4, I'll talk to the advantages of investment in the SEZ based on the opportunities that we have. And lastly, I'll talk to the issue of the industrial park strategy that we have in the province. I think the MEC has already touched on some of the profile of the SEZ with, what the province is trying to achieve with this project. The Special Economic Zone, it's a strategic project that the province is implementing in partnership with the DTI. It's nothing else but an industrial park with special conditions. While when you invest or open a business in an industrial park, all that you do is to apply and then you get space. With the SEZ, there are conditions that you must meet first before you can be allocated space within the SEZ. Firstly, you must be playing within the sectors that that SEZ is focusing in. So that is what is unique with the SEZ compared to an industrial park. The other reality is the fact that the DTI monitor the performance of the SEZ with regard to the sectors that you want to do, because the different sectors attract different incentives, so hence the DTI wants to maintain a tight control about what happens in the SEZ in terms of the sectors that you want to do. So if you want to introduce a different sector, you have to go back to the DTI and say, we have seen opportunities in this sector, can we do it? And then we're asking for these incentives and special allowances for us to attract investments with regard to that sector. So that is what we have in our case. We are doing an SEZ and we are targeting the PGMs as an industry that will anchor a lot of investments that will happen there. So hence, I'll talk to the work and the studies that we have done, the research that we have done with regard to the sectors that we think are doable in our area. So this project, this zone, is found in a little town called Mohwase, Moses Kotane Local Municipality, which is 45 kilometers outside Rustenburg and 20 kilometers close to Sun City, on the way to Tabazimbi along the R510 road. We are 120 kilometers from Pretoria and 180 kilometers from Joburg. So we are not far from major metropolitan centers. So we're promoting this as a district-wide SEZ so that we can tap into the opportunities that arise, that are found in the district, and we're looking for linkages so that we can link all the towns in the district so that they take advantage of this SEZ. With regard to the work that we have done to pick up the sectors that has a potential within this zone, we commissioned a number of studies so that the studies can help us identify the sectors that have a potential within where we are. So the mandate that we gave the studies, the people who were helping us with the studies was very simple. Look at the sectors that are attractive in our area, and more than that, look at the sectors that we could do, those that are doable, and those that have a huge potential in terms of the value chain, in terms of the businesses that can be attracted to participate, both the main industrial players and your small enterprises, SMME and so on and so forth. So they were supposed to look at investment opportunities and the attractiveness that. And then you also asked the service providers to look at what are the incentives that we need to ask DTI to give us so that we can be able to bring those investments into our area. So those were some of the things that we asked them to look for. And one of the things that we asked them to do was to look at what are short-term initiatives that we can do, what are medium-term and long-term. Because some of the issues that I'll allude to later, you'll find that some industries have a long-term view around their performance. I mean, when you look at the auto, for example, planning and decision-making at auto, I mean, in that sector, it's long-term in most cases. So now, the 4 sectors that we concluded that we will pursue in the short term are as follows. Firstly, we concluded that we must position ourselves to take advantage of the opportunities in the mining and mineral beneficiation. Because naturally, we are in a mining area. So it's a strategy that says we want to target the businesses that that have a relationship with the mines, either suppliers to the mines or doing beneficiation of the minerals that come from the mines. So with mining and mineral beneficiation, we're looking for companies that will help us beneficiate PGMs, your chrome, vanadium, and battery minerals. That was the first sector that we agreed to do. The second one, related to the first one, talks to the mining capital equipment, manufacturing, and supply. So here we were looking at what is it that makes mining happen. We're not looking at your SLP, no. We're looking at what goes into real mining, whereby we're looking at what type of machines are this mining procuring, and then what type of services makes mining happen. I mean, either inputs or components that makes mining happen. So we're looking for investment in those specific areas. Thirdly, before mining became prominent in that district, agriculture used to be a huge industry, and we used to have a lot of tobacco produced in Rustenburg area, and we used to have, even there is still there, citrus. So we're looking at what is it that we can then pursue from the agriculture space. And when you look at the Crocodile River Basin, from Harties to Falkop Dam, there's a lot of agriculture happening on the banks of that river. So we're looking at tapping and attracting investments from companies that are growing crops along that basin, so that they can then process those crops with us, and we add value, so we export products that can earn us more revenue compared to if we were to sell unprocessed produce. And lastly, it's green tech. Here we're looking at your fuel cells, energy storage technologies, solar panel manufacturing, all the products and technology relating to platinum as it relates to energy. So we're looking for investments that talk to platinum as a contribution to energy technologies going forward. Of course, the other sectors would have been your pharmaceutical, biomedical, petrochemicals, and so on and so forth. So now the